Alright, so this is the seventh chapter of Baby Doll 18 plus story. So yeah, it's called Sweater Weather, part 2 of Sneak Out. Recap. With that on, I'm not done with you yet. He growls. It's enough to spark more energy in me, and my core to want more. I wait for him on our bed. His jacket still wrapped around my bare body. My legs are slightly widened, allowing him to see how badly my womanhood yearned for him. He had refused to turn on the heat in the house, every room being a cold space. The cool atmosphere conflicted with my heating core, the sensation causing me to shift a little as I felt my need drip and seep into the fabrics beneath me. I hadn't called him into the room yet. I was hoping to have him find me ready for him. Of course, it was only a concept that wouldn't fulfill itself. I insert 2 fingers into my entrance and begin to thrust slowly. The movements makes a wet sound, but the feeling is enough to make me moan. It feels good, but it's not enough to satisfy my needs. We both know you can't do that on your own, he says. He snaps me out of my ecstasy, a smirk apparent on his face. His eyes roam my figure, a moan slipping from him as he watches my hand at work. You said you weren't done, I chuckle back. I remove my hand. He sits on the bed and I crawl to him. I straddle him, hovering over his hips. I'm not, he says with a smile. He peels his fabric barriers away and his hands connect to my hips, slowly lowering me down onto him. His hard member enters me, forcing a loud moan from my lips. His hands slide up the sweater, his cold skin roaming my warm frame. I blow a shaky sigh at the feeling and grind on him as my walls start to become familiar with his length. He starts to unzip the sweater, allowing my collarbones to show and a bit of cleavage. He claims the skin with kisses and bites, sucking at sweet spots that earn him gasps and more sounds. My grinding pace grows faster. I dig my short fingernails into his shoulders to remain steady. My breath quickens, moans escaping with every other breath. His member manages to reach sensitive places in me, making my walls conflict around him. I cradle his head as he sucks at my neck and collarbone, leaving marks along my skin. His warm breath blows against my skin, his huffs turning into a symphony of moans and grunts. Faster, baby doll, he growls against my ear. His grip tightens on my hips and guides me to a faster pace. His own hips buck occasionally as moans spill from him, a sign that he is close to his climax, much like myself. My walls throb around him, releasing my warm juices in short bursts as loud moans roar from me. His own release fills me as his grip loosens on me, moans escaping him as well. My cum spills onto my thighs, mixing with his. I look down at him with a wary chuckle. He returns it. Go get cleaned up, sexy, he says breathlessly, a smile on his lips. He gently smacks my rear end, earning a small moan from me. He quirks a brow and chuckles, keeping a mental note of his discovery. Only if you join me, I tease. He chews on his bottom lip and caresses my figure. Not tonight, he says. Perhaps another time. Okay, so this is chapter 8. It's called Save Water. His calloused fingers pressed into her skin as they kiss passionately. Her hips rolled to a small rhythm, her heating womanhood feeling a hint of his bulge. It was enough to force a small moan out of the two. His hungry kisses traveled to her neck, sucking gently at sensitive pieces. Hey, she stammered through a moan. She tries to push the man away, though she wanted just the opposite. I'm supposed to be taking a shower, remember? The couple snapped back to the reality around them. The bathroom door slightly cracked and muting the calming roar of the water falling from the shower head. Don't be long, baby doll, he purred. She smiled and willed herself to stand from his lap and go to her awaited shower. She left the door cracked as she undressed to immerse herself in the warm water. She sighed quietly at the feeling of the liquid enveloping her body. Her core started to drip, thinking about just how badly she craved for her lover. The thought of him thrusting into her was enough to make her body react in subtle ways. A gentle knock pulled her out of her fantasy. Mind if I join? He asked. She could hear him undress before pulling the shower curtain open enough to peek. She nodded, allowing him to enter the small, steamy space. He pinned her against the wall by her waist and hungrily kissed her, his crotch brushing against hers. Please, she moaned at the sensation, her hips bucking at the teasing contact. He lifted her by her thighs, using the tiled wall as her back support, and guided himself in her opening. Her hands gripped tighter onto his bare shoulders as she let out a loud moan, her back arcing as the warm water poured over their bodies. He bit at her collarbone, thrusting in and out with rhythm, as sounds of pleasure fell from her and echoed in the room. His hands moved a little higher up her thighs, his thumbs locating her clit. He rubbed the sensitive spot, her moans coming faster. Her hips moved along with his, her walls collapsing around his member. With a loud moan, her juices explode from her, spilling onto his length. The liquid was enough to urge him to fill her with his remains. With a heavy grunt, as he removed himself from her entrance, she looked down and watches her cum rinse away with the water. She panted as she struggled to catch her breath, a smile claiming her lips. Clean yourself up, baby doll, he smirked before setting her down to her feet again. Okay, so this is the final chapter. It's the 9th chapter called Now. She straddled him, kissing him hungrily, as if it were natural instinct. His hands landed on her waist, pulling her closer. She lowered herself onto his lap, a small whimper escaping her lips as she felt his developing desire for her. She was aching for him, so much that her hips started to roll gently against him. He could feel heat radiating from her womanhood, only making his desire grow stronger. Right now, baby doll? He asked against her swelling lips. She parted her lips to answer with a yes, but only a breathy moan slipped from her. Her grinding became harder and more needy. He managed to lift the girl from him to expose his member. She didn't have much time to wait. She tugged at the thin barrier that was her underwear, her desire starting to drip down her thighs. Please, she whimpered. Right now, please. Her hand managed to find an entrance under the fabric, her fingers tracing shapes onto her core. He couldn't wait any longer. He tore the barrier, exposing her, and lowered her onto his member. They let out a loud moan in unison at the feeling, her walls throbbing around him. Her back arched as she felt herself stretch and form around him. She slowly started to bounce, earning breathy moans from him. Her nails dug into his shoulders as she found her pace, balancing herself as pleasure crashed over her. His hand found a way to her womanhood, rubbing circles in the soaked area. Her walls throbbed more around him, causing them to near their high. With a loud moan, her tension spilled, mixing with his filling. The mixture dropped down her thighs as she caught her breath, riding the high. She still had so much more building inside of her. One more. She panted into the crook of his neck. She started to claim his skin in kisses and small bites. Her hips bucked at the prompted invite. Swiftly, he reversed their roles, pinning her down onto the bed. It was his turn to start thrusting slowly, teasingly. She squirmed under his grip, a moan pouring from her as her back involuntarily lifted. One more, baby doll. Alright, so that was all of the chapters for Baby Doll 18 Plus Story. So yeah, if you all did enjoy this video, I want y'all to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like these. And also be on the lookout for other 18 plus or whatever stories I'm gonna be narrating for ASMR. But other than that, y'all, my name is Very Actual, and I'm out. Peace.